Most people believe that strategy is about choosing what to pursue. That feels reasonable, clean, even optimistic. But the more I examine how real decisions unfold, the less stable that belief becomes. Because when I look closely at decisions that actually changed outcome, not intentions, not plans, but trajectories, they weren't defined by what was chosen. They were defined by what was deliberately given up. And that's where things start to feel uncomfortable. The question I'm trying to sit here with isn't how to make better strategies. It's something narrower and harder to stay with. Why do strategies that look sound on paper quietly dissolve when real trade offs appear? In real life, strategy doesn't fail because people don't understand priorities. It fails because they try to preserve too many futures at once. At first, this seems straightforward, but it isn't. Because most decision makers would say they accept trade offs, but their behavior tells a different story. This isn't about the execution, it's not about discipline, it's not about courage, at least not in the heroic sense. It's about something more basic, our relationship with loss. I used to think of strategy as clarity. If you could just get the priorities right, everything else would align. Resources would follow, trade offs would feel obvious. That, that framing started to break when I watched organization and honestly, like myself, make decisions that were clear and still evasive. Budgets approved, but nothing shut down. Focus declared, but no initiative killed. Direction set, but optionality quietly preserved. At first, I thought it was cowardice or maybe indecision. But that explanation felt too moral, too easy. What I began to notice instead was this pattern. Every strategic choice was designed to avoid irreversible losses. The decision wasn't which path is better, it was how do we avoid closing doors. And that's when framing shifted for me. Strategy isn't primarily about choosing a direction, it's about choosing which cost you are willing to lock in, not metaphorical cost, actual losses, reputation, time, identity, and all foregone alternatives. Until those losses are accepted, nothing has really been decided. Here is where things get uncomfortable. When those losses appear, the mind doesn't argue logically. It start negotiating. Uh, let's let's keep this as pilot. Let's hedge for one more quarter. Let's not burn the bridges. Each of these sound prudent in isolation, but taken together they form a familiar failure mode, a strategy that exists only because nothing meaningful was sacrificed. I have caught myself doing this more than once, convincing myself that I am being thoughtful, even when what I am really doing is avoiding the emotional weight of loss. The strange part is that the potential gains don't carry the same psychological force. What we might win feels abstract, what we might lose feels concrete. I didn't always see this as bias, but for a long time I thought it was just realism. I'm I'm no longer convinced that it is. Here is the collision point we can think about. Strategy by definition requires exclusion. Bias by instinct resists the loss. So every mental machinery we rely on to survive uncertainty works against us when decision demands commitment. Even when we know that trade offs are necessary, awareness doesn't dissolve this discomfort. That's the part I still struggle with. Knowing about loss aversion doesn't make it easier to accept losses. If anything, it makes the avoidance more articulate. We don't say, I'm afraid of losing this option. We say, let's keep flexibility. The language gets cleaner, the avoidance remains. I don't have a formula for this, but I have found a lens that exposes what really happening. When evaluating a strategic decision, ask what must become impossible if this choice is real, and what future version of myself or this organization I am quietly protecting. If I delay this decision by 6 months, what loss I am actually trying to avoid? These questions don't help you act faster. They make hesitation visible. And that visibility is not comfortable. I no longer think strategy fails because people avoid hard work. I think it fails because people underestimate how psychologically expensive real choice is. I'm clearer now that trade offs aren't a side effect of a strategy. Instead, they are the substance of it. I'm still uncertain about this, whether it's possible to design a decision that makes losses feel less personal without emptying the strategy of its meaning. I don't have an answer yet to that. I have a clearer sense of the shape of this problem, even if it isn't resolved yet. And this is a part of learning how to make deliberate decisions.